our guest speaker this afternoon. It is my privilege and a great pleasure to introduce Joy Walsh. And I've included her bio. And so you can read the many accomplishments of Joy's professional life through reviewing that bio. And you can read about her academic credentials. She started here at BC3, received her Associate of Arts, Elementary Education, then went on to earn her Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education from college in Hope, New York, received her MA in English, Slippery Rock University, and has completed PhD credits via Capella University. Some key words here: tutor. She is one of us, or she has been one of us, so she knows what the world of tutoring is all about. Adjunct professor here at BC3. She has been full-time faculty since 2003. Joy is a very well-respected and highly respected and active member of our BC3 community. But with all of that having been said, personally, what I believe distinguishes Joy above many others is her passion and her commitment for BC3 and for our students and for their success. So, again, it is my privilege and my personal pleasure to introduce Joy Walsh, Associate Professor of English, BC3.
Wow, thank you. I have that on the page. I apologize. It appears that when I sent the document to Lexi, my educational background got jumbled there. That should have been a list where you could see them a little bit more distinctively, but she covered them for you. I started out as an elementary education major, always knew I was going to teach. I never went through the what am I going to be when I grow up. I was a teacher, it was in my blood. Reading and teaching were just what I did from the time I spoke, I think. But it took a little bit longer for me to focus my area of education, and that just grew through different experiences and opportunities. And part of my commitment to this place is the place that it has in my heart. Huge developmental milestone for myself when I came here as a student out of a very narrow background, and I always say the world opened up to me at Butler County Community College. It really did. I learned so much about the world, and I was the proverbial little sponge. I couldn't get enough. I couldn't learn enough. I couldn't take enough classes. I couldn't, I was just that every professor's dream, because I was just driven by the passion for learning, and the faculty here and the mission of this place did nothing but light that fire and focus that fire. So I do have a very personal connection to this place and its mission and its students. And a couple years later, it hasn't died yet. So not that it's frustrating and all of the other stuff, and sometimes you'll see me throw temper tantrums, but then we get over it and come back to it, right? Like any good family does, right? On the right side of your packet, you have my bio on the yellow sheet, and then a stapled packet of material that I sent to Lexi. She notified me last week, got an email out, said, reminder, are we still on? I'm like, yes, it's on my calendar. Do you have an agenda? Well, in my head I do. So I put it together, and I was extremely pleased to see that a lot of my opening ideas and background has already been laid in the morning session. So great minds think alike. We're on the same page, and I think that it's just ideal that we can use this hour to really dig into the prep and developmental English coursework, syllabi, what goes on in the classroom, what the instructors rely on the tutors for, and I have a good handful of tools that I want to demonstrate for you, put in your hands, show you I know that when we have educational training, the best thing is those little exercises, those little techniques, those little activities that someone does, and like, I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna use that in my class. That's what really lights educators. And when I was planning for this and deciding what I wanted to share, I went with the idea of, what is it that I don't have time for? What is it in my classes that I always feel gets left on the table because I can't get to them? As Lucy had mentioned earlier, as a classroom faculty, those of you that have been in the classroom know, you can only touch in with each one of them, and even if you see where that individual student needs to go and what needs, there's only one of you. And you can never get to them. You can never get all the way there. And if I had the hour, the 2 hours a week, one-on-one with them through the course, what would I give them? What would I do? What do I always leave on the table? And from the classroom perspective, I guess that's what I hope happens in tutoring, is that you folks get to do that. You get to have that extra hour. You get to have that focus, that one-on-one opportunity. So I'd like to connect those dots, and the question sheet that Lexi provided, you can see that I reviewed it. It looks like most of my lesson plans. I've scribbled all over it now. And so I think when we get down to questions and answers, I'll start with addressing those. Those are ones that were first and foremost, and then anything that we have left over. We'll go from there. So, I wrote a note to myself as an opener, and I thought this is a really good opening quote in part of our other discussion of identifying the students. My goal for students, for developmental prep students, is to have them leave empowered, not entitled. Yes, there is this level of, in the best sense of the word, entitlement that's in our mission statement. We do believe as a community college in opportunity, in open doors and opportunity. All kinds of discussions about what that opportunity entails and what it entitles students to. And we can debate that philosophically for a long, long time. That debate's been going on for a long time, and it will continue. But I'm really more about empowering them with what I have to give them. So I use that language a lot in the classroom, and in my own personal philosophy of education. And sometimes when it appears that I'm drawing hard lines, it's because, as our current vice president says, no one rises to low expectations. And there's a serious challenge with the prep and developmental student of balancing compassion and managing that fragility and that nurturing instinct that we have to help them along with that little bit of tough love and hold the line. Here's the line that we have to get to. I believe you and I can go there. I know how to build all this scaffolding to get up there. I am willing to climb up there with you. If you don't climb, I'm not pulling you. Because then I got to the top and you got dragged up there. Or at some point, I can't drag you any higher. You get too heavy and we both stop halfway. The handouts that I gave you in the packet. We can go very quickly through the first page. We've already really covered that. Well, the very first page is the agenda. So page 2, mission statement, open enrollment, and placement. We've already discussed that plenty. Are there any leftover questions or clarifications for those? Thank you to Josh and Lexi. The next 2 pages are the current departmental syllabi for developmental English and prep English. You'll hear language about syllabi, course outlines, first day of class handouts, and like many other things, much of that discussion is instructor dependent and the language gets muddy. So, officially, the syllabus for a course is housed and determined by the division. So the Humanities and Social Sciences division has approved the syllabi for each course that's offered on the schedule. And there is an official division syllabus for every course that's listed. Humanities, Social Sciences houses theirs, Math, Science, Technology houses theirs. So when you say, I want to see the syllabus, the syllabus is this document that comes, it's in an official form like this, has a description, textbooks, objectives. If you can get your eyes on these, which you can just by asking, usually the division secretaries, ask Lexi or Maggie, your coordinators can get that information for you. It's part of the college's material. This is what the college says must be done in this class. So that's the official word. When a faculty member is assigned a course to teach, this is the document that that faculty member is given. To interpret, and this is where the academic freedom comes in, which is the biggest challenge for you folks and for the students. How do faculty members interpret this and put it on the ground in their classes? Always discussion about that. There's always heated discussion about that. If you ever want to be a part of a good observation, just ask to observe a division meeting at some time, and you'll, if one of these is on the voting roster, you'll get a view into that world too. But this is the core, this is the bare minimum of what has to happen. And then individual instructors interpret this document and say, okay, how am I going to do this in 14 weeks and one final exam? And so that's the difference you see when you get you ask your students for their syllabus and they hand you that first piece of paper that they got from the teacher. I have mine labeled course guidelines, course outline. I don't call them a syllabus because it gets confusing whether it's an instructor syllabus or the department syllabus. But often, some instructors will give both. They'll say, here's the department syllabus, here's the course syllabus, meaning the way I'm going to do it. The language is very loose. We're all used to that, right? So-and-so calls it this, so-and-so calls it that. But if you are ever tutoring, I can offer my assistance. If you're tutoring my students and want my syllabi interpretations, which turn into course guidelines, course outlines, the day-by-day what we're doing, the grading policy, the attendance policy, all of those things, email me and ask for them. All right. I do not know how this goes with your confidentiality. Lexi, you can answer me. If someone just requests from me my course handouts, not linking to any individual student, I will give them to anyone.
You will.
I will, absolutely. Anyone can knock on my door and say, can I have your course handout from English 101? Well, yeah, sure, here. So, not being connected to any individual student, what should this student do on this paper? That's a confidentiality question. But can I see your course outline for developmental English? Can I see your... I'll send you those all day long. So, business cards as well. Please take one. Has my email address, my telephone extension. If you have questions on these, interpretations of, if you'd like to see handouts that I have or use, I'm more than welcome, more than glad to share those with anyone who asks. Let's take a look. Oh, my office hours this semester as well. If you want to know when to catch me. My office is in Arts and Hospitality Building, AH, room 121. They just changed the numbers. So AH 121. And my office hours this semester will be Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And Mondays, 10:10 to 11:10. So again, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Mondays, 10:10 to 11:10. Email, voicemail, I can respond to, many other times. But if you physically want to speak to me, talk to me, or have a good chance of getting a response, those are going to be times that you'll know that I'm not in class, I'll be in the office. Let's take a look then at the syllabi for developmental and prep English. So this is pages 3 through 6 on the handout. The first thing that you're going to notice is that they're very, very similar. When I began teaching here full-time in 2003, there was one prep offering in English. Prep English, English 035. If you tested below English 1, you went into Prep English. And we knew very quickly, and I had been part-time in tutoring for quite some time, and I was familiar with the student base, and I taught some of the courses. There was a wide range of students sitting in that English 035. From the can't put together a simple independent clause to just a little tiny tweak, and they'd be ready to go to English 1. And it was challenging, as always, to get that big range. And many schools were dividing their offerings. They're having these sequences. You heard Josh say that some of them are all the way up to 3-4 semesters sequentially before they can even get a shot at a gatekeeper course. So we looked at all the models, we looked at our student base, we looked at the numbers, and we came up with the current model, where we separated the students by skill level, which immediately helps you to focus your curriculum and your classroom work. And we gave an extra hour a week to the lowest level. The exit goal is the same. At the end of this developmental semester, we want an attempt at passing into English 1. The way we go about it is fine-tuned to those two different populations. We'll talk about that exit criteria in a moment, but the distinctions that you see in the description, the objectives, and the content, and the evaluation, all focus on that little bit of a distinction. There is more basic sentence level work, intensive grammar work in the developmental. There's a little bit higher level of rhetoric. We introduced the rhetorical modes in prep. You'll notice there's no rhetorical mode discussion in the developmental. So that it's basic expository. We want to get sentence level, paragraph level, basic essay level. And I shy away from the language of a 5-paragraph essay because for most students it brings up bad memories of bad K-12 experiences or PSSA prep, and even students that master the 5-paragraph essay tend to write very formulaic, empty shells of composition. And it doesn't translate really well into what we really want in college writing. So I tend to use the language of a multiple paragraph essay made up of its 4 key parts: introduction, thesis, supporting details, conclusion. If that happens to be paragraphed into 5 paragraphs, wonderful. If it happens to be paragraphed into 4 or 6 or 12 or 85 when you do a research paper, it's the same essay. But that core structure, you'll notice, is exit criteria. The papers, the evaluation is a little bit different. So if we compare pages 4 and 6, oh, and then, excuse the numbering on prep.
I thought that was a new event.
Yeah, I think when I put it into one document to send, it sequenced, and I didn't catch it before I hit send. So those should obviously start at A, again, on the English 035. So the evaluation section should be A through E as well. But you'll notice that you do one more paragraph. You stay at the paragraph level a little bit longer in developmental. You move to the essay more quickly and go into the rhetorical modes. So it's just allowing that upper level of prep to move a little closer to English 1, rhetorically, because they don't need as much time at the sentence level. But the exit criteria is the same. And the best model for exit criteria is page 7. When a faculty member is assigned one of these 2 courses, he or she is given the handbook, the reader that goes with the appropriate course. It's a Mercury reader with developmental. It's 40 model essays with prep. And they're given the syllabus and this document. Now, the drive for a departmental final exam, which exists universally in math and science, has been a long and bloody road in the English world. And there are still battles to be fought and blood to be shed there. But we do have this in the prep and developmental level. Doesn't exist yet in English 1 or the English 2 level. But all sections of English 034 and 035 will give this final exam. This is the dragon at the end of this course. It is designed to be a dragon. It is essentially a do-over of the placement test, but in written form, because we all know as writing instructors that the true test of writing skill is a writing sample. Right? We can't do a writing sample with every student coming in because that's a monumental task of execution for a school, to collect all these writing samples and who's going to assess them, and do we assess them the same way, and how does that equal placement, and it's just not feasible. But we all know that the way you can tell if a student is ready to write is to look at their writing and to see how they execute these skills, not whether they can pick the right comma sentence on the computer, but can they execute these skills? Can they use the comma effectively and correctly? And they're not the same thing. In their own writing. So everything in these courses leads to this. I give students this document right around midterm and tell them this is your study guide. I cross-reference every one of these errors to their handbook, which we're going to talk about, to the quizzes that we've taken in class, to the notations that I've put on their graded papers, and I tell them to start studying for your final. The secret is we've been studying for it all along. But they're not oriented to education in that way, that we're always teaching to the test. So you can see the specifications here, and this is the law of the land. So if you hear otherwise about the final exam from students or anywhere else, this is the law of the land. It has to be a fourth of the course grade. Very heavily weighted because that is that safety net. If they can pick away at their grade with a lot of help from home, many of these students have established a pattern of passing with some help. A lot of help. Like, you tell me and I'll write. Well, you give me your ideas and I'll fix it for you. Someone at home has helped them because of everything we said about these students. They make educators and family members with a heart want to help them. And you see the potential and you see the gem in there. Say, well, let me just, it's yours, but. It's a huge temptation. And the bottom line is that technique sets them up to fail this test. Because they have never learned to engage in that process for themselves. How do I go from my ideas, my language, my sentence structure, how do I put these tools onto that and turn it into the product that's going to be required of me to succeed here? That whole process is the content material of this class. And we want to support them through that process. I'm going to give you a lot of techniques and tools to do that. But you can see that they are permitted and encouraged to use. On their quizzes, I allow students to use these tools. We do in-class editing. They get in groups and use these tools. Use the handbook. Use a dictionary. Sometimes we use spell check if we have access to a computer. And how do we use spell check? Well, and don't let spell check write your paper because it puts the wrong words in your paper. And we know when it happens. Don't let spell check write your paper. Paper full of that wrong word, the autocorrect. They can't use pre-written drafts. They have to go from invention stage to editing on their own with the tools. Our job is to fill their toolbox. Some of you may have heard the classic birdhouse speech. She always talks about the birdhouse. I'll be giving it again next week. That it's like building a birdhouse. To build anything, you need materials, tools, plans, and practice. You need the guidance of a master crafts person to show you how the tools work, to let you get in there with your hands on it and guide you. And the first one you make is going to be really wonky and it might hold together. The more you make, the stronger it gets, the more you can focus on polish, and then you become a crafts person and an artist. It's the same thing with writing. I can show you how it works. I can use tools. I can demonstrate how the tools make beautiful products up here. I can take your raw material and make it into a beautiful product. But the only way you learn how to do it is to pick up the tools, work with the master crafts person, and put in the blood, sweat, and tears and practice. So I use that metaphor all through the semester. And we call all of these your tools. Did you get out your toolbox? If you're trying to take a test and you're trying to edit something without a dictionary, you're hammering nails with your shoe. Just what I happen to remember. If this is the tool for the job, get it out and use it. Grading looks strict on this, and it is. Send a letter of application to a job interview and it has 4 misspelled words in it. What are the chances that you're going to get that interview? That's a failing letter, right? It didn't do its job. So they need to be able to edit their work from these errors to these specs. No more than 4 spelling errors. No more than 4 different group 2 errors. No more than 3 different group 1 errors. They don't have to make them clean and perfect. They have to show that they have learned to use the tools enough to have a fighting chance in English 1. Questions to this point?
I'm assuming that neither of these classes is taught online.
Correct. There is always discussion about it, and every once in a while someone says, would you be willing to?
Speaking of having someone, write the paper.
Yeah, that's probably the primary reason why so far most of us have held the line and said no, because I don't know who's on the other side of the screen. And of course we could do the same thing that they used to do with online courses and make them come to campus. You may be able to do some sort of a hybrid at the top level. If you do this sequenced mastery-based work, then you come in here to do your writing. So there's all kinds of creative models floating around out there right now. But I have to say that online offerings have never really got any momentum here.
Good.
I don't have any desire to drive that bus. I would probably try to slow it down. Joanna?
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
And it's not exactly related, but just if any of the tutors would receive this syllabus,
Yes.
the bibliography, am I wrong when I say that they're not using every text? These are the potential texts.
The bibliography is resource material for faculty. Students will not probably ever see any of those. Bibliography is the bibliography that faculty members use to create this syllabus. So the books that the students are going to get are listed under texts, the required texts for the course.
Okay.
The bibliography is just for division members, faculty, tutors who want to know, have more background information, support for executing this syllabus. And these will be, used to be that they were always all housed in the library. Sometimes now they're housed in the department or the division. So if you wanted to physically see one of these, they're available. They may be in the library, they may be over in our area, they may be in my office for some of these. Those are resources, yet students won't see this.
Okay.
Other questions about the syllabi? I don't expect you to have absorbed all of them now, but I hope that you can use them as resources at some point to know, why is this going on in this class? Why is this teacher doing this? Why does this handout look like this? Those documents should answer those questions for you.
Well, this is enormous. I love it.
The departmental final exam
Yeah,
is
enormous.
just, this is a study guide for the final exam from the beginning. And the language is directly referenced to their textbooks, which is where I want to go next. I believe I should be up to number 5 on my agenda. I am, tools. Philosophically, there has been and will always be debate among developmental teaching faculty of how do we package this? We know the skills that they need, really, in English 1 level. We know the language they need to be able to use, the dialect, the language of the land. It's housed in a handbook. This is the way that academic and professional writers complete their writing. Professional editors, people in college, on the job, they have a field manual where they have the specs, the current specs. English is not different from other fields in that regard. We know that students are going to go into English 1 and get this field manual and be expected to use it. The English 1 syllabus has almost zero grammar instruction in it. English 1 is designed as rhetorical, an introduction to research, an introduction into college level writing. The new name is now college writing as opposed to English 1. And the premise has always been that sentence level, grammatical level skills are pre-college level. College writing deals with rhetoric, style, research, synthesis of ideas, expressing yourself in the college world. So very often, students go to English 1, they say, wow, you have 16 fused sentences in this essay. You've seen that essay? Yeah.